Hello there. Thank you for joining me. We're going to do a real cute painting today. It's a landscape, 3 little girls sitting on a creek bank or a pond bank. They are engrossed in gossip, and that's the name of the show. That's the name of the program. So let's go to the palette and get started with it. First thing we're going to do is put out a puddle of white paint. And to that paint we're going to add sapphire blue. Sapphire blue is a beautiful blue. It sort of has a little sunny look to it. Gives you a light, airy day. Okay, I'm going to go to the canvas now and wet the sky area. Now, knowing some of the other programs, we wet the entire canvas, but I'm going to take a little bit different approach to this one and see if I can show you how to use give you a few more little tips and tricks on using acrylic paints. Okay, this time we're not putting any color in the sky except the blue. This is to start with. Okay, we're going to go back to the canvas and start in the horizon with the white tinted with sapphire blue. Going to add more sapphire blue to the mixture as we move upward, making the sky a little bit darker. A little bit more to darken more. So we really have 3 different values here: light, medium, and dark. And all we did was add a little more blue each time. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of blending. I think I'll get a dry brush to do that with. Start in the lightest area. Why do you think I started there? If I'd started in the darkest and pulled the paint downward, what would have happened? I'd darken my light area. So I'm starting in the light and working up to the dark, just blending the edges a little bit. Okay, now there's a little pond or a little creek that's flowing right here, so let's go ahead and fill that in. That's where they're sitting doing all this gossiping. This is going to take just a minute because I'm trying to work around the little dearies rather than painting across them or over them. This is the bottom part of her body showing right here. Little span of water between those 2 little darlings. Another span of water showing over here. Soften the edges a little bit. I always want to soften edges when you're using acrylics. It makes your work so much easier. And if the water line is straight, and I think it is, I'm going to lay some trees in right here, some background trees. Get my bristles of my brush open, and let's use Boysenberry and sapphire blue for the first ones. Want some soft trees back in the background. Let's see, there's two different stands of them here. And some I'll use a little more Boysenberry, some I'll use a little more sapphire. Okay, let's let some foliage hang out here over the sky area. Same mixture, sapphire blue, Boysenberry. Makes beautiful background trees. Gives you good depth in your painting. I like those. I think they're going to work beautifully. Let's step over to this side, skip over here, and add a few here. Now, green trees are going to go over these later. But just in case, you can see through the green tree foliage, you want something behind it. A little bit darker value than that blue sky. So that's the reason I'm kind of scrubbing and scumbling these areas that are not covered with paint. Okay, now let's go to the midnight green. Beautiful green. And dark chocolate. Midnight green and dark chocolate. And we're going to start stippling some green trees in. You can see the painting start to progress and come forward. Start off with your lightest values and work towards your darkest. Okay, right through here. And I like to do this while the sky is wet because the brush picks up that wet sky color and it blends with the dark mixture that I'm adding on now, and it gives me the look that I'm after to get depth in the painting. Color perspective. And that's what a painting is all the way through. It's perspective. You have two, you have color and linear. Your lines have to work and your colors have to work. Let's go right on down here now. Notice that I just lay the paint in and then I stipple upward into the wet sky. Same colors, brush mixing, dark chocolate, midnight green. Pick up a little dark chocolate and a little midnight green on the brush, a little at the time. Try to keep the trees from getting too symmetrical. You want some high places, you want some low, some thick, some thin. You want to be able to see the sky peeking through. You want your edges ragged. You want your foliage to be ragged on the edges, soft in value, and sort of ragged looking. All right, now I'm going to show you a little bit of trick that you can use with acrylics too if you're not in a great big hurry, and we've got plenty of time on this painting. So I'm going to use Boysenberry and antique gold. And I'm going to actually add my highlight in the bank before I lay the bank on this time. Right down through here. Okay, now what have I told you in the other series that you have to do that is a must? Keep those edges ragged, keep them soft, keep them wet. Okay, now go back to the dark chocolate, midnight green. And come up to meet that. Right around these little darlings. And blend right into it. See, it can work either way. This is just a little different approach than what I've shown you in the other programs. And I do want to show you all I can. See, you got plenty of blending time. So that old saying about acrylics, no, they dry too fast. I can't use acrylics. Yes, you can too. I love them. Now, if you need to go back later and brighten your highlight or reinforce it or reinforce your shadowed area, whatever you want to do, you're in business. You've gotten it established. And it is looking great. Now I'm going to take a mop and sort of brush those lines out just a little bit. Okay, now this is sort of a funny approach, but what we're going to do is start on the little darlings now. We're going to start with this one. This is the biggest girl, and she's the one that's full of gossip. She has the attention of these others, and she is not letting up. This is Boysenberry and dark chocolate for the shadows. I'm putting it on the tail of her dress, under her apron, and as I point these things out, you'll start to see the dress start to take shape. Under the apron, on the bodice, under her hair. Then we'll add white to that same mixture. Put a little more boysenberry in it and give her a pink dress. White to the same mixture and fill in the remainder of the dress. Okay, let's go a little bit lighter in value. That's not enough contrast. A little bit lighter. Now, can't you see her dress already? And we're going to blend the edges a little bit now. Okay, she has on a white apron. She has a bow on that apron. It goes around her waist. Okay, let's lay her, let's go to the one on this side over here. Get her laid in. And I'll put the arms and the heads on at the same time because I'll be using the same colors. Going to do this one the same way. Start with the shadows. Antique gold, dark chocolate. The color of the dress, you just add white. Blend your edges. Lo and behold, she's sitting there with the dress on her little body. Okay, this one is the sapphire blue and ebony black. For shadows, sapphire blue and ebony black for the shadows. Then what do you think we're going to do? You got it. We're going to add the white and we're going to blend. You already knew that, didn't you? Let's put a little more blue in the mixture, though, to bring it up. Take some of the black out to bring it up in value just a little bit. So we'll have enough of a contrast that it'll really show up pretty. Dry your brush and blend. See how creamy these paints are? They just blend so easily. They're not like tube acrylics that you have to really work to get a good blended look. These have sort of a creamy feel to them. Just does your work for you. All right, let's put the arms. I used antique gold and boysenberry for that. And the side of her face is showing right here. Let's add that. Side of this one's face is showing. An arm here. Poor babies, they don't have any heads. Let's use ebony black for the ringleader here. Boy, I'm telling you, she has these other two following her lead. They wouldn't dare question a thing she says. Can you see how they're leaning into her? That's the little body English I use to get that effect. Add a little dark chocolate to this mixture for this one. Oh, they're so interested in everything she has to say. They don't want to miss it. Okay, let's add a little dark chocolate to this one also. And she well knows that anything she says goes. They wouldn't question her. She might not tell them anything else. Let's get a blue blue bow on this one. And a yellow one. Let's give her a little hair band. And little pink lady's going to have a bow too. Look, hers is sitting on the side of her head. Boy, that's really talking to us, isn't it? Okay, let's get her arms in there. She didn't have a facing, so don't have to worry about that, but we do have to get her arms in. Put a little bit of a highlight on this shoulder here. Okay, now this area down in here is path. For that I'm going to a bristle brush. And we're going to use the antique gold and Boysenberry mixture. Right through here. Bright colored path leading up to the pond or the creek or their favorite meeting place. I don't know. They probably have a name for it. To that mixture, I'm going to add a little Boysenberry and dark chocolate in the foreground, and that gives us what? Depth. Could you see how that pushed this area backwards here? I'll tell you something else that does it. Calico red will do it real pretty too. It'll push it back for you. Okay, now back to the foliage area or the ground area. Let's get some more midnight green and dark chocolate. Let's get us a clean place on our palette. Let's start here. And our midnight green. We're going to cover a big area kind of hurriedly this time, but I'm not going to wet the canvas. I don't think I'm going to need to. I'll just use the same brush, and you can see that I brush mix. I just kind of dip into the green and then into the other, to the chocolate. Dark chocolate. The path is still wet, and while I'm at it, I'll just blend the edges just a little bit. Right on up to her fanny. You want to stipple some foliage to push the little darlings backwards a little bit. Let's work on, no, I tell you what, while this is still wet, let's jump over here so that we can blend these edges in the path. Right on up to their dresses now. And let's soften the path down just a tad right in the back. Okay, the edges are blended to perfection. So let's go up this side with some foliage. As soon as we get this laid in, we'll do the same thing on the other. And I'm stippling, and I know you all know how to stipple, but in case you don't, you just kind of push your brush in a patting, a tapping motion. Okay, let's pull a few weeds up here over her dress. Okay, now we're going to this side. Going to fill in this entire area here with our stippling motion. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Let some of your foliage now hang out over this bank, and I know I've got to straighten that water line. I bet it's been driving you crazy. But I saw it all along. Part of it's going to be covered. In just a minute. Okay, now this goes right on up over the purple. But we want some of that purple to show, don't we? So I'm trying to be ever so careful not to stipple and paint away all of the purple. We want some of it peeking through that green. And that is exactly what we did. Okay, let's go with Boysenberry in dark chocolate. Brighten up a bit here. Get a few like blooms or flowers, or maybe a flowering tree or something similar to that to brighten up a little bit. Let's put a little over here. Don't you wonder what they're talking about? I bet you their mama would be surprised. Okay, now I'm going to brush I just call an El Cheapo. See if I can get some blue flowers established now. When you're doing this, you want to keep from getting a blocky look. Did you see that I started to get sort of a squared off look then? I made myself come down at an angle. That's so important to keep from getting too symmetrical. Gives your painting a stiff look. It doesn't flow easily if you have a stiff, blocky look. Okay, now I'm going to blend these edges in just a little bit. Just sort of patting them into the wet paint underneath. That gives me my middle value. I've got my dark, my light, now I'm getting the middle. Ever so gently. Her dress, her apron looks a little bright. That white looks just a little bright for this painting. I'm going to take it down in value a little bit by adding a touch of dark chocolate and sort of skimming over it just a little bit. Get a touch of chocolate, Norma. There we go. See, that white was just too bright. Just would not work. Okay, let me straighten up that line back here just a little now. I want to show you now how to get some color in your sky area. We're going to use control medium, and let's use cad yellow. Control medium on the brush, touch of cad yellow added to it. Cad yellow is so strong that you just want to use a touch. Okay, I'm going to dry my brush and reload because my brush had a little bit of that green still up in the ferrule. When you're doing this, you might want to keep a paper towel ready to blot if you need to. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's giving them a sunny day. Let's put a little light come peeking through over there. Let's glaze the path just a tad. Brighten it up. Okay, now let's lay some clouds in and on a touch of boysenberry in these. Okay, now the sky is dry, so what must I do? I'm duty-bound to add some control medium to that brush to move that paint. Get the bottom edge soft where I can move the paint. And there we go. You want to leave a little shadow between, a little dark blue between the two clouds. If I hadn't added the control medium, I would not have been able to move the paint at all. It would have just stuck. Unless I wet the canvas again. But now see, you can always just wet your canvas again to do that. But we didn't need to because we had that control medium to work with. And I'm telling you, it's great. Okay, let's add a few yellow flowers. And then we'll see what we've got here. And I need 1 minute to tidy up this water just a little. I need to darken it just a little. There we go. Darken the water just a little. I think that's about it for today. I've enjoyed every minute with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.